Number one Ibble Dibble here. Welcome to my review of Tom Bower's Revenge. Chapter 4 Suits. Trevor Engelson sensed the tension. 6 years after he and Meghan had met, they flew to Belize for a holiday. Soon after they arrived, he proposed. Marriage, he believed, would secure their relationship. Shortly after saying yes, Meghan telephoned her best friend, Ninaki Pretty. There was no doubt about her love for Trevor. She said if anything were to happen to him, she wouldn't be able to go on. As for Trevor, he would have walked the earth to make the marriage work. So what do you think about it taking Trevor 6 years to propose? I know there are big cultural and individual differences about this, but to make a broad generalization, Americans who are done with their educations and unconcerned with money generally expect a proposal after 2 years and a wedding no more than 2 years later. For women anyway, you're supposed to be married by 30. Did it really take Trevor 6 years living with Meghan to decide he wanted to marry her? Or was he experiencing pushback from his family, financial stress, or both? And on Meghan's end, was she resentful of his unwillingness to marry her? Or did she come to view it as a get-out-of-jail-free card? Or both? Do you think they ever had an honest conversation about this stuff? Or do you think they were both pretending for each other and avoiding conflict for quite a while? We know she wasn't an easygoing person, giving him space to decide with a full heart. I tend to think Meghan is the zero communication unless she wants something type, and then she chews and tugs on it like a bulldog until she's won. Do you think she never wanted to marry Trevor, or she just wasn't bold enough to force him or skilled enough to manipulate him into it when she was younger? Ninaki's impressions are interesting also. They sound less like the description of a loving, stable relationship and more like the grandiose brags of a narcissist like Meghan. A guy who won't give you a role in his low-budget movies and doesn't propose for 6 years doesn't seem like he would walk the earth for you. To me, maybe the reason Ninaki was able to stay friends with Meghan for so long was because she just never called her on her nonsense. She was too naive to even figure out what was real and what wasn't. As for Meghan saying she couldn't live without Trevor, she meant it literally. Before Suits, she couldn't have afforded an apartment and food on her own. Every aspect of Meghan's life was changing. Her mother's life had finally stabilized. In March 2011, Doria's 82-year-old father died. She inherited some money and his house in Windsor Hills, a black middle-class area. At the same time, she began studying for a degree in social work at the University of Southern California. Thomas Markle's life also changed. At the age of 67, he retired and, relying solely on his pension, moved to Mexico. With few friends, the solitary, proud man filled his time watching old films, walking around the town, and taking photographs. His relationship with Meghan was different. "I don't want to come to Mexico," she said during one of their weekly calls. He in turn refused Meghan's invitations to travel to Toronto. He feared an argument. After seeing the first episodes of Suits, he was critical of the director's lighting and the whole production. Meghan disliked his criticism, Thomas recalled. "She began talking down to me. Suddenly, there was a command in her voice. She'd outgrown me. She gave me the impression that she didn't need me anymore. I began to think that I didn't understand her anymore." It's normal for a protective family member or friend to hear or see something about their loved one's workplace and think, "Oh no, they're doing it wrong. I hope that doesn't mean my loved one will lose their job." Also, even though dad is retired, he's still allowed his pride. He won 2 Emmys 30 years apart. He knows what he's doing. Any normal daughter would just shrug it off or say, "Daddy, I know, but I'm really happy here and I want to take my chances on it." It's weird to me that Thomas felt he couldn't discuss it much because Meghan was going to fight with him about it. Maybe she and Harry are similar in this way, totally gung-ho for things they like despite red flags, daily Kool-Aid drinkers. Or maybe this was one of Meghan's ways of controlling the people around her. If she's in a fight with you about one thing, she won't work with you on anything else, forcing her loved ones to let problems go and go and go until they're irreparable. Before leaving for Toronto, Korsh, the creator of Suits, and Meghan had met for lunch at the King's Road Cafe in Hollywood. To his delight, Meghan revealed herself to be a foodie. He would incorporate her interest into the scripts. Keen to absorb new ideas, Meghan was especially interested in Korsh's depiction of loyalty and authority. There was a caveat. Ranked 6th actor in the series, she would not be mentioned in the publicity for the launch. Uncertain if Suits would be recommissioned after the first series, Meghan needed a safety net. Although she wanted to live separately, Meghan had no alternative but to rely on Trevor. It sounds to me like she targeted and schmoozed Korsh. I doubt Korsh had a lunch date with every cast member. Meghan likely set it up, and Meghan was likely trying to gauge how much she would be willing to persuade him to get her in those publicity shots. During the first months, the Suits cast became her surrogate family. Sometimes they went to bars and clubs after a day's filming, but usually Meghan returned home to cook for herself, do yoga, and Skype with Trevor, encouraging him to fly to Toronto. Often, she admitted, she spent time on the internet trolling for girlfriends. Bauer is establishing that Meghan is capable of and makes a practice of researching people on the internet, forcing an introduction, and forging a friendship. This is an aggressive way of networking, but not unacceptable in America. In the US, it's quite all right to contact someone you've never met on LinkedIn or Instagram and ask to buy them a coffee and pick their brain about this or that. People accept for different reasons. They accept for a free coffee, they accept to talk about their problems, they accept with romantic hopes. Maybe if you get lucky, they're hiring. Obviously, only people with some confidence and money and a decent excuse or connection can do this. And considering Meghan had been stuck in a dead-end career for years, I'm sure she became well practiced at it. And obviously, most Americans aren't doing this most of the time because they simply don't need to, and it can be an awkward waste of time. The fact that she's an attractive woman certainly didn't hurt her in this regard, which is fine, in my opinion. But it does highlight a type of friendship Meghan experiences that I doubt Harry is even aware of. To him, a friend is a person he clicks with, trusts, someone who makes him laugh, someone he's probably known for some time. His family, schools, and courtiers have always protected him from punters. In Harry's mind, he was introduced to Meghan by a trustworthy and charming childhood friend. He can't conceive that to Meghan, that same friend was just a mark, as is he. In the past, Harry's social circle expanded as he was exposed to genuine friends of friends, or formally introduced to people vetted by the palace. This is why Meghan made such a big deal about them meeting organically in the engagement interview and insisted on repeating that not quite correct word.
I'd never even heard about her until this friend said Meghan Markle. I was like, right, okay, give me a bit of background. What's going on here?
For both of us, it was just a really authentic and organic way to get to know each other.
Organically. They met organically. She didn't plan it at all. Meghan's wedding was planned for the 10th of September, 2011 in Jamaica. 3 weeks before the big party, The Schmoes Know, a live podcast by Trevor with 2 friends, highlighted the difference between him and Meghan.
Trevor, it was a blast having you here, man.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. This is an awesome show, and you guys are funny.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, man. We do, and we'd like to have you back definitely soon, because we could literally talk another 3 hours with Trevor. He's got a lot of good stories.
My fiance texted me and said, "Put that flask down. It looks incredibly unprofessional."
That's amazing.
I apologize.
Don't worry, we're the Schmo Show. That's what we specialize in. It's Saturday. We got to have her on, too, by the way, too.
That's right. Well, yeah, I'll talk to her.
All right.
She's a big deal.
I know. She's getting to be a big deal. Good luck with the wedding, man.
Yeah.
It's in 3 weeks, and then then I'm sure you're a big-time Hollywood guy. You're going to vacation somewhere. You're going to honeymoon in Nepal somewhere.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. All right.
Casual, earthy, untidy, and unpunctual, Trevor knew he was marrying a self-disciplined perfectionist. So now we've met mothering Meghan. Personally, I certainly don't care to watch my husband's work videos. And were I to watch them, I absolutely would not text him live on air about anything he was wearing, or I don't know, it seems so out of place to me. Shortly before flying to celebrate in Jamaica, Trevor and Meghan married on the 16th of August in a civil ceremony in Los Angeles. Neither Thomas nor Doria were invited, and the date was deliberately classified as confidential by the couple to prevent outsiders, those without a court order, discovering the details. A total of 102 guests, including Meghan's parents, were invited to a 4-day beach party at the Jamaica Inn, famous as a haunt of Ian Fleming, Marilyn Monroe, and Arthur Miller. Meghan booked all 55 rooms and villas. Guests paid for their own accommodation. Let's talk about where Meghan got married. A 4-day beach party at the Jamaica Inn costs £1,500 per person, all-inclusive. So if she invited between 102 and 106 people, estimates vary a little bit, we're talking about a $175,000 plus wedding. The question is, what did Meghan ask her guests to pay? She told them they would have to pay for their accommodation. But I kind of think she made them pay for everything, don't you? I think she made them pay full freight. I think she got married for free and collected some gifts while she was at it. She might even have profited from it, depending on how much Trevor's family agreed to contribute. As for Meghan's family, it seems Tom Jr. and Samantha were invited but declined. Samantha's daughter attended, and no one from Doria's side was there. Given that Meghan was making $50,000 per episode on Suits, she could have paid for anyone she really wanted to be there to come. I think Meghan's primary concern was throwing a swank enough party to impress the Suits crowd, but pricing out family members she didn't care for was a great bonus. Thomas Markle contributed $20,000 to the costs. They didn't expect the money, recalled Thomas, but I offered it. It's my daughter. In return, Meghan and Trevor gave him a certificate for a journey anywhere in the world, which he did not use. I also think it's very, very strange that they offered to repay Thomas Markle in kind. I suppose I find it strange that they offered to repay him at all. He's her father, the bride's family is supposed to pay for the wedding, and in circumstances where they can't afford the whole thing, they contribute to it to maintain their dignity. If they truly felt he couldn't have spared the money, instead of offering to fly him anywhere in the world on vacation, they should have waited until he really needed something, like a car, and bought him one. In addition to the couple's friends from Hollywood and New York, there was a large contingent from the cast of Suits. Always the easiest to agree to schedule changes, the producers appreciated that Meghan never got worked up. By then, many noticed the close relationship between Meghan and Patrick J. Adams, playing Ross. "We grew up together over the course of the show," Adams would say about their special bond. The night before the wedding ceremony, Trevor described his pledge to give Meghan the family home she never has had. Thomas and Doria's jaws fell. "We looked aghast at each other," said Thomas. She had had 2 good families and all the love and attention any child could want. Both wondered what Meghan had told Trevor about her childhood. Why had she concealed her past? Or why had she distorted her origins? What other secrets, Thomas wondered, had his daughter told Trevor? "She controlled the whole wedding like a sergeant," Thomas noticed. "There were times for everyone to be ready in costumes, for games, and for meals. I couldn't understand what she was trying to achieve. She even forbade everyone from taking photos." Despite her instructions, his beloved daughter was getting married and he disobeyed. I went ahead and snapped. Nanaki Pretty was the maid of honor. I started crying the moment I saw her in her dress. Meg literally shone with happiness. We've been like sisters since we were 2 years old. It was so beautiful to watch, beautiful to be a part of. They loved each other so much. She married her eternal love. Both Trevor's parents were unhappy that their son was not marrying someone Jewish, and in particular that he was marrying Meghan. From their first introduction, both had disliked Meghan's aloof self-interest. Over the years, she had shown neither loyalty nor intimacy to the Engelsons. Neither believed she would be willing to make the sacrifices for the creation of a proper family home. Trevor had ignored their opposition to the marriage. Since their son was determined to marry Meghan, there was no alternative but to make the best of the situation. Unnoticed by the guests, Meghan demanded the official video of the party. To Thomas Markle's surprise, she destroyed it soon after the wedding. She wanted no visual record of the marriage. By default, only her father's photos survived. So there's a lot to unpack here. Do you think Meghan was completely delusional about her level of fame? Or do you think she wanted no record of her marriage to Trevor Because she didn't want to do it, she didn't want to remember it, and she didn't want to explain it later. Or both. It's clear to me that Meghan never wanted to marry Trevor. She just needed to ensure her financial stability until Suits got renewed 1 or 2 more times, and then she'd have enough banked to get away from him. As for the delusions of fame and need to control her image, those are certainly well established and doubtless related to her narcissism. And what about Patrick J. Adams? I wonder if Trevor noticed that his new bride had more chemistry with her co-star than with him. I'll cover more of this relationship in the next installment. See you tomorrow. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.